You're listening to Around the Northwest. Now, the Enterprise Week, Local Enterprise Week continues this afternoon. Well, earlier on there was Trailgazers in Burt, and this afternoon there is Utopia, Young People as Future Leaders and Innovators. That's a webinar focusing on young people as innovators and also opportunities in the Northwest region and in the EU. And there's speakers from Alpha Innovation Centre, the Assembly of European Regions and Donegal ETB. Also this afternoon, DICE 2023 DICE for Driving Innovation in Business, an event that's going to showcase national and international best practices in design, thinking and innovation. And events continuing through to the end of the week. On Friday, in fact, the final day of Local Enterprise Week, there is a business and sport international leadership lessons, and this is out at the Clanry Hotel here in Letterkenny from 10 to 12:30, and some leading lights in Irish sport coming together for a special event. They'll be sharing their experiences and outlining the sacrifices, I suppose, that made them champions. And it includes Enda McNulty, who won 7 Ulster titles and a National League with Armagh. There's Michael Murphy, who of course needs no introduction. There's Nina Carberry, former top national hunt jockey, and also Brent Pope, who we know from rugby analysis and playing rugby, New Zealand born, and he's a rugby journalist as well, and does a lot of work for charity, and very busy on the after dinner circuit, and in business, owner of Pope Shirts and Shoes. Not a lot of people might know that, but Brent now joins us. Brent, tell us a bit about Pope Shirts and Shoes.
Yeah, well, I always had great company there for Friday to talk about, I suppose, you know, the lessons I've learned in a sense from doing a lot of things pretty well in my life, not egotistically, but you know, I was pretty successful from a sporting point of view. We got coached by some of the best coaches in the world, so I picked up valuable lessons then into work in media. I had a property business for a while in New Zealand that was successful. I then, a few years ago, I decided I was sick of wearing other brands on the TV and everybody saying, oh, how smart you looked. And I thought, why can't I do this myself? My mother worked in the industry in New Zealand. She was head of fashion in a Brown Thomas equivalent shop in Christchurch called Ballantyne's. So I got my kind of love of fashion back then, and I thought, why can't I design and bring a brand of shirts to the market in Ireland, which has been very successful. I'm now in the likes of Arnott's. I'm now just entering into Brown Thomas there next year. So that then moved on to shoes. They're run by a company out of Monaghan, not far away. So I've always been about stepping out of my comfort zone and being named Project Pope years ago. And it's just, I suppose, on Friday, just imparting some of the lessons I've learned, not only in dealing with my own mental health, which we can talk about in a bit in a month, but also, you know, what it takes to be successful in business. Because I suppose that the ties are very close as I see it. But so all the lessons I've learned out of sport, I've applied to my business career, and people can do that at whatever level they think deems to be success. And that's worth talking about as well, because some people equate success to financial, and that's okay. Other people equate it to be successful in the community, and that's okay as well. So it's just, you know, the thing that the main lessons I give is about what is your purpose? What is your purpose in business? What is your purpose in sport? What is your purpose in life? I think that's where we start discussing that sort of side of things.
Yeah, and funny you should outline how what is your purpose in life, because Enterprise Week, the focus obviously on business, but you know, it's all about life, because you can't be successful in business unless you're on top of things in life in general. And you would have learned a lot of lessons, as you said there, from coaching and from playing rugby and over the years, and how they translate into day-to-day life as well as business.
Yeah, and I think I come from a good position because I'm kind of, I've learned a lot from different areas of my life that I take forward. And I said, I think, you go back to the basic. And also the fact is I've been lucky enough to kind of hear the foremost speakers around the world over the last 10 or 15 years. I've traveled to places, I've traveled to the States, I've traveled to Australia and these places to listen to business speakers. I regularly attending the Pendulum Summit they have every year, that my friend Frankie Sheehan set up. And so I've taken bits out of everybody I've heard speak and apply them. And to be honest, what I'll be saying on Friday, this is not rocket science. And yet I still talk to a lot of business leaders out there and I say, wow, how did you make this business a success? And sometimes you still get tripped out. I was doing something similar a few years ago, just to give you an idea on what that sounds like. And I was on a panel with some other business leaders, and one of the questions asked by one of the members of the public was to this very successful business owner who made a lot of money and was on the outside deemed to be running a very successful business. And the question was, how do you motivate your workers? And his answer was, I pay them more. And I just thought, you don't get it, because that's not sustainable. Unfortunately, the business collapsed a few years later, and I know why it collapsed, because motivating people just for money is never going to work long time. No, you have to tie your purpose to intrinsic values. And what are those values like? And I talk a bit about the coaching that Joe Schmidt and that employed and to get Ireland back on track. And it was all about placing intrinsic values on what winning a Grand Slam would really mean to that person or to the team. So it's about team building. It's about building purpose. It's about saying, what is your purpose? Where do you want the business to go to? How you drive it there? And all these things are put in place. And it's very much like a sports team. It's very much that, that the leader has to be somebody that's flexible, that has to be someone that sticks to his goals no matter what, that gets everybody on side. And that's not rocket science. Anybody can do it, from whether you're setting up a hairdressing business or whether you're a multinational. No one manager I've ever met in my life has got it completely right all of the time. And it's okay to make mistakes and it's okay to move forward. But I just give those sorts of stories that applied to me in my own personal life and also my sporting life. And I think it is a lot to do with what is the purpose and why are you doing what you're doing. Because if you're just doing it for extrinsic reasons, more money or whatever like that, or ego, then it'll ultimately fail. But so hopefully I can tie a cord between the business society and the sports society and the mental health issues I've had, and give a well-rounded kind of presentation in a kind of a low-key manner that somebody can get takeaways from. Because it's no good hearing people talk, myself, like Endo I've heard talk before and he's very good, and Gina and Michael, Nina, sorry, will all have their own input. So people will get some really valuable insights into leading a successful business or sporting life, or how they deal with their mental health problem.
Speaking of mental health problems, I was listening to you chatting to Brendan O'Connor on Saturday, and without going into too many details, we had some tragedies here in Donegal last week related to that issue, and you spoke very openly, very honestly, very movingly about your own issues with mental health, and also you kept going back to, please reach out, talk to somebody. There's help there. And you kept going back to that. And that is a very strong message. But you also gave the background, and that was your own issues.
Yeah.
Just very, very briefly, for those that wouldn't have heard that, it just, kind of take us through what you've come through recently, and then, the underlying message that you were putting out on Saturday as well.
Yeah. It's been very difficult for me. It's even difficult for me now, speaking out. But part of me moving forward is to, I suppose, giving back has become very important in my life. Because I think if one person hears me, I know it's an old cliche, and I don't want to, keep drumming out. But if one person hears me speak about my mental health and has the courage or the bravery to make a call to a friend, to a GP, to a professional, to anybody, to get their life back on track, I need to give hope for people, because for so long in my life, in my earlier years, when I had mental health issues, I had to battle them alone. And they came with judgment, they came with guilt, they came with shame. Where does the guilt come from? The guilt comes from the fact that you may have a good life from the outside looking into everybody else. As people used to tell me, don't you have a roof over your head? Aren't there starving children in Africa? Yes, there are. But that didn't help my state of mind in all those years when I had extreme anxiety. Look, it's too long. It's another program to go over
I understand
the issues I've had. But I have battled my mental health issues for going on, what am I now? Going on 40 years that I've had to deal with that, and I've had to find a way around it. What happened in the last couple of years was that I just got into a position whereby that I know I needed extra help. That I needed the journaling and the seeing the counsellors, and that wasn't working for me at this particular time. So I just had to be brave enough to reach out and make a couple of calls and just say, look, I need additional help here. I need additional help. And making that first part of the call is the start of your recovery process. And that has to be the message. It has to be like an alcoholic reaching out and saying, look, the first step is I go to AA meetings and I get my life back on track, because the alternative doesn't worth thinking about for most people, but it's out there, and we need to start addressing the better understanding around mental health. I don't talk about destigmatization anymore. I don't like that word being referred to when I'm out there speaking, because I think we've moved past that. What we need is greater understanding that people are suffering with mental health illness at whatever level, and that there is hope out there, and that they just make that call and they get their lives back on track, to give them hope. Because if one person comes up to me on the street and says, Brent, I heard you talk or whatever, and I made that call, like was said to me the other night, then, I know they're making a difference. And I was on to talk about an initiative another time. I'll come on with called The Elephant in the Room, where I'm getting these 4-foot high elephants made. And I'm hoping to have an elephant in every boardroom or every sporting organization or every classroom in the country over the years, just as a commitment to companies or sports clubs or universities or schools, making it a safe place for people to talk about whatever their elephant in the room is, whether that's sexuality problems, whether that's problems with bullying, whether that's body dysmorphia, whether that's anything. Mm-hmm. What is their elephant in the room? And feel free that they can go and talk to the manager, or they can go and talk to a teacher, or they can go and talk to a friend or a GP or a priest or whoever. But just get it out in the open, because a problem, in my world, a problem shared is a problem solved. And, we should look at that, not to go through the judgment that I've had to face of people looking at me and saying, I'm glad I don't have Brent Pope's life, because for the most part, I'm pretty good. And also, the most part is I'm in a situation where now that I know that if I hit a couple of bumps along the road, I know what to do about it. And there's so many people out there, you talk about your own community is affected. Those people just sadly have got into a situation where they think there's no help out there, that, what does their life look like? And they're in a desperate, dark place. And I'm just urging those people to make a call like I had to. If I can do it, then they can do it. And that's the message.
Yeah. And it's important that you share that message, and it's important that someone with your experience and your profile is willing to talk about it and very open about it, and sort of blends it into the general conversation. Okay, well, because as you say,
it's not just to finish off. Yeah. It's not an easy thing to do, and it's very difficult, because I was just talking to someone before, and I said I go through this judgment back that am I sharing my life's dirty little secrets in a way that everybody knows now? But on the other side of that is that if I can save lives out there, one life, or if I can touch somebody to get the help. If somebody's listening out there now and they're in a dark place and they're feeling low or whatever like that, please hear me and just make that call. And there is hope and there is recovery, and you can have wonderful lives in the future. It's just getting them out of that dark place, which I say to people sometimes I scare, and I you know yourself, it's coming to us at all stages in our life. We don't know what's going to happen in 5 minutes' time, let alone 5 days or 5 weeks. We don't know when we're going to be forced to have to dip into our resources to look after our mental health. Let's say you go home this afternoon and something has happened. You might lose a business, you might lose a relationship, anything might happen where suddenly your mental health is taxed. And for people to know in that situation, that is when you need to reach out and get help from other people.
If it was only that issue that you were chatting about on Friday, I think it would be worth going to. But obviously, that's just going to be part of the narrative, and there's going to be a lot more besides yourself, Enda McNulty, Michael Murphy, and Nina Carberry, all at that. And it's in the Clanree Hotel. Just to let people know that you do have to register. It's free, but you do have to register. localenterprise.ie/Donegal, 10 to 12:30 on Friday. Brent, as you say, there's another show in it, and I'd love to have a longer conversation.
Yeah.
Maybe we will sometime.
We will, maybe. And I'm just saying, the last time I was down in Donegal, I think I was down there celebrating the great Dave Gallagher, who gave so much to New Zealand, New Zealand rugby. And I just said to somebody before, imagine coming from a country where we were the greatest rugby country in the world, moving to a country that is now the greatest rugby country in the world. So
it's looking good. It's looking good at the
things
moment.
are looking good.
Yeah.
So look, I'm looking forward to it, and hopefully people will turn up in their numbers because they'll get something out of it, whatever way they look at it. And if they want to come up to me and talk about mental health or business health or anything like that, I'd love to meet them. So I'm really looking forward to it. I get a great welcome in Donegal. It's a fabulous place in the country. It's beautiful. I enjoy the drive down. So looking forward to it. So thanks for that.